I have seen so many people live lives of courage and faith and hope. As a pastor for these many years, I have witnessed countless people who have embodied God's peace amidst great difficulty. His name was Coach. Everybody called him Coach. I met Coach my first year in seminary at Emory University in Atlanta when I took a job as a part-time youth director at Hapeville United Methodist Church south of Atlanta. Coach was the local high school football coach. And besides having a great football team, everybody loved Coach. And he especially loved young people. And even though he didn't have any youth in the youth program where I was working, he loved those youth, those young people. I got to know him quite well, obviously, as a youth director, as he gave himself to the life of the church and to the youth, and we became very good friends. And then I got the call. It was his wife. And she said, "Richard, please come quickly. It's Coach." So I rushed over to the house. Pat and I were living in Hapeville at that time. Rushed over to the house, saw police cars outside, an ambulance, people standing around on the lawn. I went inside the house, saw Coach's wife on the couch with her head in her hands and crying profusely. And when she saw me, she came toward me and she hugged me and she said, "Richard, Coach killed himself." As a 23-year-old seminary student, I had never experienced anything like that in life. Richard, Coach committed suicide. As you might imagine, it was devastation to that community, devastation to that high school, devastation to our church, devastation to our youth, that a man who seemed so happy, so full of the bounty of life, would commit suicide. Now, let me diverge for just a moment and say to you what I hope you already know, and that is that God does not condemn those who commit suicide. I hope you know that. I hope you believe that. In fact, God has supreme divine empathy for those who face such dark moments in their lives, who face that kind of disillusionment, who face that kind of despair, so that they would make such an irrational decision. Please understand that God does not condemn those who commit suicide. And if you wonder about the Christian faith and suicide, I preached a sermon a couple of years ago on that subject, and I invite you to get a copy if you need to. Coach killed himself. You can imagine for Coach's wife, that was a long journey of grief and recovery. But it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing to watch that woman navigate the journey of grace and grief and recovery. I was astounded as a 23-year-old to watch this woman go the path that she walked, with faith, with courage, with hope. She taught me more than I could ever teach her, because she truly reflected God's peace in one of the darkest moments you can face in life. And I knew what Jesus meant when he said, "My peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. I give you the peace of God. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." He was in his early 50s. He was highly respected in the community, very involved in civic matters, loving husband, devoted father, member of our congregation there in that city. And came to my office one day. The door was open. He knocked on the door and he said, "Richard, I need to talk to you." And I said, "Okay, come on in." He came on in and sat down in the chair and began to get quite emotional. And he said, "Richard, I learned I lost my job yesterday. I've got mouths to feed, children to educate. I'm a man in my early 50s. Who's going to want to hire me? I need your prayers." We talked a little while more. We prayed, and we agreed to meet weekly, that we could talk and we could pray along this journey of disappointment that was so deeply his. As you might imagine, he put out all kinds of resumes, any of us would. Nobody responded. And that journey stretched on. And so our conversation stretched on, and our prayer time stretched on. But again, I was astounded at the serenity this man had as he walked that path of disappointment. I was absolutely blown away that he could have such peace within him. And then one day he came to me and he said, well, God's given me my answer. I'm going back to school. I'm going to reshape my life with God's help. I'm going to find out if other doors were open since that particular door, those particular doors didn't open. And I remembered. Jesus said, I give you my peace, not as the world gives do I give to you. I give you the peace of God. Do not let your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. She was a remarkable woman in her 40s, nurse practitioner, doted wife, mother of 3 elementary-aged children, members of our congregation. He was a professor at the college in the town where I was pastoring, and life was good, really good. And then she got the diagnosis, ovarian cancer. She went through all the treatments just as any of us would. They were debilitating, painful treatments. And there was this brief period of time that she did well, and all of us were elated. And then the doctors, oncologists came and said, we've done all we can do. You're going to die. I was with that family, that husband, that mother, that father, that wife, those children, for a long stretch of time. In and out of the hospital, in and out of treatments, until finally they had said nothing could be done. One night I got a call from the husband, and he asked me if I would come over and meet with he and the children, the 3 elementary-aged children. I said I'd be glad to. He said, we're telling them tomorrow in the hospital room where the mother was that she's dying. He said, I've got a book I want to read to them with you present in case they've got questions they need to ask about death, about heaven, about all of this. The title of the book was Mama's Going to Heaven Soon, and it contains these words. Last night our daddy told us that our mama is going to heaven soon. To live with God, we asked. Yes, our daddy said. Your mama's going to heaven, and she will live with God and the angels. Then Daddy said, your mama will always be a part of you and me and everyone else that she loves. We will always love your mama, and she will always love us, even after she goes to heaven. And again, I walked the path of that journey toward death with that father, that mother, that husband, that wife, those children, and she was absolutely, absolutely, unbelievably at peace. No mother wants to leave their children. No father wants to leave their children. But when you find yourself at the crossroads of disappointment and there's no other way the path is going except in that direction, to have the sense of strength and resilience and faith that she had, unbelievable, inexplicable, transcending anything that any of us can understand, except that Jesus said, I give you my peace. The world can't give you this peace. It is God's peace. And it will help you to have faith and move forward. Or as Paul said, that peace which transcends all understanding. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. You know it. There is a peace from God in the great challenges of life which surpasses all understanding. Thanks be to God.